and thanks for joining us today. My name is Mike Mahannah. I'm the U.S. Country Manager here at Fast4, and with me is Julia Kahn, who is our European Sales Manager. She's been involved in AP automation for quite some time now, and today what we wanted to cover was, if you're looking at buying AP automation for NetSuite, what are the things that you should be considering? So we've worked with quite a few different customers across the entire globe and thought we would share some of the insight and some of the things that you should be considering. So thanks for joining us, Julia.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Thanks for inviting me. And hi, everyone. It's good to have you.
Good. Well, let's take a look. So what is AP automation? And I guess that's the first question. If you're looking at this, I'm sure you have some ideas, but one, obviously you're processing vendor bills and credits, typically using an OCR engine with some AI technology. So it allows you to easily process bills rather than manually entering them yourself. Typically there's three-way matching. So in NetSuite, you do have three-way matching capabilities, and generally you want to look for something that does extend that option. And also gives you some features that are not necessarily in NetSuite. So potentially a split screen that will show you a PDF of the bill and then the actual bill screen. So, and then also, what other custom fields are you going to use as part of this bill process? So, are you going to add custom fields? What are the workflows that are supported either as standard or custom? So again, those are all things that as you look at the AP automation, you might want to take a look at or consider. So let's take a look, what are some of the selection criteria? And I'd say the first one, probably the biggest differentiator is it native or not? So native meaning that it fully is listed or is running within the application of NetSuite. The user experience is the same. You can't really tell where one begins and one ends. But I'm interested, Julie, what are your thoughts on, the kind of the native or not?
It's my favorite term, I must say. So we talk about nativeness a lot when we talk with our customers, partners, and NetSuite representatives we're in touch with. So it's true that we see a lot of interest in OCR, in AP automation, because customers are looking into having as less manual processes as possible. And we believe that AP automation is one of the biggest areas here. And our goal as a company is to enable customers have the best experience with NetSuite. And the less manual processes there are, the better, in our view. And I think the big advantage that we have is that we work with NetSuite only, and that allowed us to build the solution that would fit every NetSuite customer. So there are a lot of benefits to that. I can talk about it a very, very long time, but I think first and foremost, you don't need to switch the screen. So all happens natively in your NetSuite environment, which has like a number of benefits. It's very secure. It's built for NetSuite, so you don't have to worry with any major release, with any change that you have in the NetSuite system. You can be sure that our solution will be compatible. So, but I understand that for the companies looking for AP automation solution, it can be quite overwhelming because there are so many different solutions and so many different elements that should be taken into account while choosing one.
Good.
So that's.
Yeah, and I think that the native piece is you've implemented NetSuite. You've spent a lot of time creating business rules in there. Why create it somewhere else and have to recreate it? The pro of not native is you get flexibility. You're not necessarily inhibited by the rules that are in NetSuite. So it's kind of a pro con depending on what you value, I guess, is really what we're looking at here.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. So the other one we've got here is multi-currency and multi-language. So depending on if you're dealing in multi-currency or in multi-language, how well an application can handle that. And so I think you've got a couple examples, at least one that we talked about previously that I'm excited for you to share with the group.
Absolutely. Yeah, I must say that we work with a lot of businesses that are scaling up and that implement NetSuite at the time, like to support their growth. And I think especially then it's important to have a solution that would fit this concept of single source of truth. So they would like to have the same solution in all of their markets, whether it would be their Amsterdam subsidiary, like their American subsidiary, or it could be anywhere abroad. And we have like broad experience with different languages, with different currencies. And also we even have experiences with languages that are in different characters, like for example, Hebrew or Greek or like Bulgarian. So basically we're able to support virtually any language. So I think that gives a lot of flexibility. And yeah, I believe
Absolutely.
that, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I would agree. I think that that's a huge factor to consider, not only for where you are now, but like you said, where do you want to grow? And if you're looking at that, does that solution support that? Well, so we've got a bill and we need to get it approved. What does the bill approval process look like? So, if you have one currently, and a lot of times when companies are looking at our solution or an AP automation solution, that approval process is probably happening in an email. So they're forwarding things, and so to the extent that you want to formalize that bill approval process and how complicated or simple you want to make it, I think you can use NetSuite's bill approval process, or you can, if you go with the third-party system, their own process. Again, I think there's some complexity depending on, what that looks like. And fortunately, I think for our system, we're able to support, hey, here are the users that have access to NetSuite, and here are the ones that don't, but are still listed. We can manage that. But again, from a bill approval process perspective, it's really up to the customer to decide, how complex they want to make that.
Yeah, I think that's the best point about NetSuite, that you can really build virtually any process that you want, right? And it depends on the customer, but every time we get this, we get questions around the approval process, we're happy to help. So it's absolutely not a problem for us.
Good. Number 4, implementation and support. So definitely a question. Hey, I like this solution. How does it get implemented? And then once it's implemented, what does the support look like? And so I think that as part of your search, that should be a question. How long does it take to get this implemented? How many people are involved on my team? And once it's implemented, how easy is it to support? And so I think that a lot of customers don't ask this until we get to the end of it. And I think it's an important question for you to consider. So what questions have you had, Julie, when somebody's looking at that? And what questions should they have asked?
Yeah. So for us, before we engage with any customer, we would like to understand where they are in their NetSuite process, and so we work both with the established NetSuite customers, but also with the ones that are just in the implementation stage. And for us, in order to successfully implement the solution, it's important to identify the best time to start. So normally we start around the UAT stage. So it's close to the go live, where the vendor master data is in place, where subsidiaries are enabled, and when chart of accounts is already configured. And from there, it takes just a couple of weeks, but depending on your experience and on the availability of both sides, it can be even quicker. So I would say that 2 to 3 weeks would be a fair estimation. And we always prefer to start in the sandbox environment if you have the testing environment, and allow sufficient time for the test, and provide our tips and tricks in order to set you up for the success.
Yeah, you've definitely brought out a few different points. I mean, I think one, not only the AP automation implementation, but how does it affect your current implementation if you are in the implementation phase? And then, how do you do it? Is there a sandbox environment? So do you have a sandbox is, an important question. If you do, then there's definitely ways to support that. If you go with a third-party system, then obviously you're testing it out in their environment, and it kind of runs independent of what you're doing, which maybe, maybe beneficial, or may add more complexity to it. So definitely some things to consider there. The last one we have is cost. So obviously, you're creating a budget for this, or you're determining how much is this going to benefit us, and so I think that is it an implementation, and is it an overall cost that you're willing to pay thousands for, or tens of thousands for. And so I think that trying to determine that, and there's a lot of functionality. If you go out with a third-party system, there's a lot of functionality that they're going to offer to you as part of that cost. And if you're just looking for, hey, I just want to be able to enter my bills, more automatically, then you're probably paying for things that you don't need, versus saying, you know what, let's keep it in NetSuite, and I really want to pay here. And so, when you're bringing up the cost, Julia, I'm curious some of the feedback that you've heard with customers.
Yeah, first of all, we are very transparent about our commercials. We have them listed openly on our website. And I think the fact that we're a native solution, and we know that the implementation process is very predictable, so we can share the costs upfront. And I think that's what many customers and partners of ours greatly appreciate.
Good. Well, those are all the items that that I feel like, and I know that we've talked about, when someone's looking at AP automation, that at least 5 things that you should be considering or asking yourself, and then ultimately asking any of the vendors. If there are other questions that you have looking at this, and you want to get in touch with us, you can certainly reach out to myself, Mike at Fast4. And so, and then also, if you're in Europe, you can also reach out to Julia at fast4.com. So Julia, I appreciate the time today and the insight, and hopefully for those that are viewing this found this beneficial. So great. Thanks a lot,
Mike.
Julia.
Great talking to you. Thank you.
All right, take care.